Hi, everyone. It's Nadine. So I'm ready for the next session that we have going on here, and it is Intro to Google Drawings. And I'm also going to be sharing some game changer tips. So I have a lot to share in this session. When you join, if you'll go ahead and put your name and where you're from and what you teach, that'll kind of help me out. Since it's just me this round, it's going to be me kind of toggling back and forth between screen sharing and taking a look at the chat. And we have some folks heating up their lunch. So that's why you also hear the microwave going off. So hopefully someone will come and get that in a moment. All right. So let me go ahead and start sharing my screen here. And all right. All right. So on here, I wanted to give you guys a link. I wanted to give you guys a link to the Google Drawings item that I'm going to be going over today. I'm going to be going back and forth between this and actually going out to Google Drawings itself because I want to make sure that I demonstrate things for you. So again, it's this tiny URL, Google Draw Intro, and I'm going to triple tap this so that I can put this into what's going on. All right, so I'm going to stop my screen share there for just a moment, and I'll tap that into the chat. So that's the tiny URL that you guys are going to need. So let me go back to sharing my screen, and we will get going. Okay. All right. So inside of this presentation, I am going to start it off as an intro because I'm not sure what everyone knows about actually Google Drawings, and I want to make sure that I cover the basics before I start blowing you away with all kinds of ideas. Another option I want to do, I know I'm going to toggle back over here again. Let me get it on here where it's full screen so you guys can see my screen a little bit better. So if you guys are working on a laptop and you want to actually do some of these things as I'm showing you them, the best way to get to Google Drawings, I usually like to open up a new tab. You can go out to your drive, and when you go into your drive, then you can tap on the word new. And when you tap on the word new, then you're going to get the option of, starting a new presentation, some different options there. And one of those options where it will say more, it's also going to give you the option of Google Drawings. And of course, mine's taking forever to pull up right now. I already have one open. I just wanted to pull this up for you. So again, you would tap on the new button, select more options. Here we go, more. And then that's where you're going to see the drop down of Google Drawings right here. Okay. So when you tap that, then you're going to actually have a canvas to create on Google Drawings. So the best way that I can describe Google Drawings, it has all the same, or pretty much all the same features as what you see in Google Slides, except you only have the one area to create. So I get a lot of people that'll say, well, I'm not going to use Google Drawings because I can just use Google Slides for that. And so I'm hoping by the end of this session, I can show you different ways that you can use Google Drawings to kind of step up your graphics game and provide some other options here. So the first thing I wanted you to notice is that in Google Drawings, you have this checkerboard, okay? So inside of having this checkerboard, this is where you can have your creation portion. So I'm going to just demonstrate a couple of items on here. So you notice these are the same shape tools that you have inside of Google Slides. When I go into a classroom and I'm wanting to teach students the basics of Google Drawings and shapes, I actually have them try to create a portrait of themselves. So I demonstrate having them tap on the oval, and then they're going to hold down on the touchpad, and then they can let go, and then it's going to make the shape there. After they make that shape, I then, always remind them to keep it so that it's activated. So we have the blue line and tiny blue squares around it, so we know that it is selected. And they can go into the fill color and they can select a color that they want it to be. Just for the sake, I'm just picking something quickly. I always like to take the border off. So I like to have this transparent whenever I'm working with this. So the next shape that I tell them whenever they're wanting to do a portrait, first of all, I'm going to keep this shape selected so that way when I make the next shape, it's going to keep the same formatting as the previous one. So I'm going to come back here, and when I want to make my neck, I tend to use the trapezoid. So I like to come down here, and I'm going to add that trapezoid in here. Now, if I want it to blend in more, I'm going to do Control Shift and the down arrow, and now I just sent that to the back. So that's the fastest way that I can demonstrate how to make something like that. Now, with students, I go through the process of teaching them how to do eyes, hair, all kinds of things. Now, the cool part about this, because I don't have enough time to go through the entire lesson of that one, but the cool part of this is that unlike Google Slides, I already have a built-in transparent background. So anything that I decide that I want to create, and I say, well, I can't find a graphic for what I want, I could go ahead and create it, and then I can download it as a PNG. So notice right here, it says a PNG file. Now you're going to see the PNG option also in Google Slides, but the difference in Slides is that it doesn't have that checkered background. This one already has that built in where it's not going to have the white background that's in there. Okay. So that's one of the things that I absolutely love. Another thing that I really love about Google Drawings, and I learned this at a session and it kind of blew me away that I didn't know this before, but down in the corner of Google Drawings, you're going to notice this little triangle there that's got some lines through it. Well, the cool part about Google Drawings is you can adjust the size easily. So if I hold on to this corner and I drag up, boom, I just made a banner if I wanted to make a banner for something. If I have a specific size that I want to make something, and I can do that as well. So I just love the fact that I can literally drag it and make it whatever size that I want it to be. I didn't have time to throw it into the document right now, but I will throw into the Google Slides later. You could actually create your own Instagram post, any type of social media post. You can drag and make the shape in Google Drawings whatever you want. So literally, I like to consider this like an interactive poster board of things that you can do. So I'm going to pop over to the chat really quick, stop sharing my screen really quick and see. Good. I just wanted to see who all's joining. I've got a lot of people from my district and also beyond. And thank you. I have somebody coming across from Texas. That's awesome that you're able to get some help today. All right. I just wanted to make sure to check and see if anybody had any questions. I will go back to sharing my screen. I'm going to go back to the presentation and start to talk to you about some of the ways that I've learned to use Google Drawings. All right. So in here, I like to use it, as I said, as an interactive poster. So on several of these examples, you're going to notice that that when you tap on it, I actually have given you permission to go out to the actual Google drawing. Now, if I have something that I need to send out to teachers, and again, it's something that doesn't need to be multiple slides, then I don't need to use Google Slides. I could easily use Google Drawings for this. So I already have that up. And so this is actually an image that I created to help out our teachers at the secondary level that are using Canvas. So I stretched it out as far as what I needed it to be to get everything that I needed. I was able to layer in, I didn't save this as a transparent background. In this case, I didn't need it, so I added a solid color background. I added in some images of things that I needed. But the most important thing that I think that's really cool about this is I figured out a hack probably a couple years ago of how to actually have a YouTube video that is inside of Google Drawings. And that was a big game changer for me. So not only am I telling the teachers what they need to do to get ready for the end of the year with Canvas, but I also have a video that they can tap on, and it's going to walk them through exactly what to do. So if you're asking yourself, well, how in the world did you do that? Because I notice on here for insert, there is no option for video. So what you can do is I usually open up a Google Slides and I will add the video there into Google Slides. And then just so you guys can see it as an example, I'll go to a video that you see on here, which we're going to talk about Manuel Herrera in a few moments. So there's a video that Manuel has already added to a Google slide here, but I'm just going to demonstrate how you can then add that to Google Drawings. So one day I thought, well, I wonder if I could just copy and then go over to the project that I'm working on. Can I right click and paste? And the answer is yes. So that was huge for me because, and I want you to think about this not only as a teacher using Google Drawings, but what if you want to have the students create a project? You could have them use Google Drawings, and you can basically have the students make their own interactive poster using that option, okay? So that was the first one that I wanted to point out to you guys. If you are familiar with ThingLink, that is a site, and it has a free version that's pretty skimpy, but it also has a paid version. But basically the same concept of what I'm doing here about how I turn it into that canvas where I'm making it interactive, you can do the same concept as what ThingLink does with Google Drawings. You could actually take it, make it into like a giant infographic, and then you could have what you call like hot dots that will link out to different sources, because I could make any of these images a link to something. That's easy to do. I could even add those videos in there. So if you're trying to decide, well, should I buy a subscription to ThingLink? I'm all about free. And if there's a way to do the same process free, then I'm all for that. So that's the first item of how I use Google Drawings. I told you that I was going to talk about Manuel. I cannot thank him enough. It has been about 2 years ago. He was at our ICE conference, the Indiana Connected Educators Conference. And I've gone back to hear him speak several times. He's amazing. But he kind of upped my game for Google Drawings. And he actually has a walkthrough video on this. So there is no way in the amount of time that I'm doing this session that I'm going to be able to walk you through step by step all of this. So go back to this slide and watch Manuel's, watch his little explanation here. He was part of a Google Innovator project that we did in February, and he was kind enough to go ahead and share in here how you can create your own drawings. So when I sat in that session, when I left that day, I immediately went to think about what could I do with my own kids. And so my daughter, Mackenzie, I had her, I said, what would a Chromebook look like to you? And have the word Google on it. So she literally just drew this by hand. And then after that, I took the concept of what Manuel goes over the process of, and I turned her drawing into an actual total animation on the left-hand side and a still image on the right-hand side. And that just opened my eyes to make me realize I don't have to go out and look for images. I think student created images are awesome. And I think even the concept of teaching students how to create their own is even bigger. I will say that this is not something that's easy. When I got started with that process, I'm actually going to copy this and pull it into Google Drawings here. Let me go ahead and make my item here bigger. Ooh, let me make that a little bit smaller so we can all actually see it. So I'm just going to start to talk about a little bit of the process of how I did this graphic. And then my best advice is start out extremely basic. Pick something that you know is easy. And literally, I just took my phone after my daughter got done drawing it, and I took a picture of it with my phone. And then I sent it, like I emailed it to myself, and then I put her image into Google Drawings. But what he taught me was inside of Google Drawings, in addition to the shape tools, right next to this little line tool are all of these other possibilities. And I had always heard about the polyline tool, but I was like deathly afraid of it because it always would never do what I needed it to do. But then I attended his session and it changed everything for me. So I'm going to demonstrate a little bit of this. So when I tap on the polyline tool, what I basically need to do is I have to go through and outline each little shape. Now, I'm sure you're probably already thinking of it like, holy cow, this has to take forever. And yeah, the more complex that the image is, the more layers that you need to trace, and the more complicated that it can get. Now, so that's one layer. So I'm going to go in here and take the background off, and it looks like that layer has got like a grayish tone to it. If you have not listened to the sessions that I've done about tips to design content digitally, I talk a lot about the color pick eyedropper. It's a Chrome extension. And if I really wanted to make sure that I got the exact color correct, I could come over here and tap on this, and it's going to give me the hex code. So that way I can match it. And again, walking through the whole thing with color pick eyedropper, go into that other session and you can learn more about that. So literally after I'm done with that, oops, and I need to go back over here. After I select that one, I like to move it off to the side. And then I start with the next layer. So I'm going to come back to the polyline tool just so you guys get a demonstration of what this looks like. And I'm going to do like the inner portion of the Chromebook that she made. But it's that gray color, and so I don't want that. I want it to be white. Okay, so each time I do that, then I'm going to come back over here to the cursor, and I'm going to move it off to the side to get it out of my way. Now, one thing that I've also noticed is using the drop shadow. So you notice I went a little drop shadow crazy on my daughter's drawing there. Anytime that you want to add a drop shadow, and I'll glide this over you so you can see a little bit more of this, you're going to go to Format Options, and you're going to tap Drop Shadow. And anything that is selected, so I'll tap off of this. Now, instead of just seeing that white box and the gray box, now you can see a little bit more of definition. So you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, yeah, this does seem really hard. How in the world could she possibly outline, the tiny little features that her daughter did? So I want to give you that tip as well. So up here in Google Drawings, there is this zoom button. So when I tap the down arrow, I can zoom in 100%. I can zoom in 200%. If I select this little magnifying glass and I tap it, watch what happens when I select a specific area. It will zoom it in as much as I need to. So the concept is, while it's all zoomed in, I can go over here back to the polyline tool, and notice now these items are not so teeny tiny, and it's a whole lot easier for me to go back around and trace items. Okay? Now, when I want to go out of the zoom, then I just tap this down arrow and I go back to fit. And now I can see how I can add these different little details. Now, you notice on this, I didn't use the shape tool. I could have used the shape tool to give it a more defined shape, but I didn't, because I really felt like that this really gives an awesome reflection of what my daughter's drawing actually looked like. So let me go out of sharing my screen for a moment here. So I wanted to tell you that with that concept, with me creating those drawings, I've heard Manuel mention a couple of ideas of how you could use students' drawings, and I thought this was really awesome. So if you were doing a fundraiser for your school, you could actually have, and this immediately came to mind because we all know how popular stickers on water bottles or devices are right now. That's a really hot item for kids. Well, what if you have a club and you have them design something, so they draw it paper, pencil, and if it's hard for the students, if you don't have students that are old enough that could actually do the next layer where they take it to Google Drawings and they're outlining the whole thing, then have the student send it to you or someone that is capable of tracing over the top of that. Inside of that file, you have a really cool option with Google Drawings. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Okay. All right, so in here, whoops, let me get back over here to my untitled. When you're done with the drawing, you have an option in Google Drawings where I could download something, not just as a PDF, a JPEG, or a PNG. Remember, a PNG is going to give you the clear background if there's nothing in the background. But now I understand a lot better about why to use the SVG. So an SVG is a term that means that if you download a graphic at that resolution, it means that no matter how much that you stretch it out, it will never get pixelated. And that was another game changer for me with Google Drawings. I was like, oh my gosh. So I could save my daughter's drawing over here, and then I could add it into Google Slides. I could add it into different items, and it's never going to have that pixely look. Oh, that's exactly what I want. But the really cool part, you know, how I'm going to go back to the fundraiser idea. If I wanted to turn this into an SVG, if you go to a site like Sticker Mule, or even if you just want to print these yourself onto sticker paper as a fundraiser, you can do that, and you're going to be guaranteed that the file is going to stay intact because you're inserting it as an SVG. Now, what I want to blow your mind with is that you can also think of the option of using that SVG if your school is going to print a poster, if they're going to do t-shirt designs, anything like that. You could actually take student work and you can turn it into any one of those items. So to me, that's where my mind was totally blown as an option to use Google Drawings. So get creative with that. But I really think tapping into something that a student draws is going to be huge for you. So on this presentation, after the one that I did with the Google drawing. I'm not going to go through the animation part today. If any of you are like, holy cow, how did you turn that into an animated GIF? I will do a different session next Monday that's all about how to create your own animated GIFs in Google Drawings. That's what I call like way higher level. So today, again, I'm just covering basics. Now, once you get good at tracing items, then I wanted to up my game a little bit. I am part of the Google Innovator cohort for New York City 19. And we had already picked a logo, and it was taking me forever to work on this project. But I went out and I found an image of the Statue of Liberty, and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if she was holding the Innovator bulb? So I worked for a really long time on doing that same concept as what my daughter did, but I traced over the different images of the different layers of the Statue of Liberty. So once you get good at the basics, then you can start to ramp up your game with it. Another image that I have created, I kept trying to find an image that had a Chromebook keyboard, because I was doing different model lessons and I wanted to be able to show students how to do things, and I wanted to be able to highlight certain keys and so on. Well, I just couldn't find what I needed. And finally, I got so fed up, I was like, okay, forget it. I'm just going to make my own. So I literally took a picture standing up top, and I took a picture of the Chromebook keyboard, put it into Google Drawings, and then I took the time to trace around each and every one of these. This file, if you want to use it, it's linked in here, and I share everything that I make, so I don't have a problem with you guys using it. Just don't sell it. That's always the big thing. I am happy to share whatever I have. Just please don't sell any of the content. So that kind of wraps up using it for creating your own graphics. Now I want to kind of go into some different ways that you can use Google Drawings. So this year I actually did, and you can tap on this image. I like to tell teachers about all these different tech possibilities. And then if they watch the video or they participate in a challenge that I have, then they could be entered to win a prize. And at the time, I was like, crap, how am I going to figure out who gets what prize? And I laid out all of the prizes that I had. I laid them all out on my floor in my office. I opened up a Google Drawing, and then I literally put in type your name here, because I didn't know how to determine who gets what prize. So I sent them out an email and said, hey, congrats, you're the winner. You need to claim your prize by typing your name and then dragging it over and putting it on top of the prize that you want to win. So that worked really well. So I know this is not like a typical use of Google Drawings, but I wanted to point out that option in case you didn't know about it. Okay. Another way that I have used Google Drawings, if you're a tech coach that happens to watch this, a lot of people are familiar with PD on the Potty. And yes, I joined in that as well. But when I wanted to design it, I thought, well, I want it to be something more than just one slide. So when you take a look at this image, it makes it look like, oh, well, she has PD on the Potty, but it's only this one Google slide. But I came up with a hack in that I would design the slide in Google Slides, and then I would lay it out on a Google Drawing. And what I discovered was that I can fit 3 Google Slides that I saved as images. I can fit 3 of these onto a Google Drawing that is sized for legal size paper. So I know I have some of my own teachers that are on here. This is how I did the process. So basically, if you have something that you want to turn into a poster, now you might be thinking to yourself, well, I could just do the whole thing in Google Drawings, right? Like I could sit here and do all of it and do the designing. What I felt like was easier for me was to do all of the design work in Google Slides, and then all I'm having to worry about on Google Drawings is getting it to the right size that I need to fit the paper that I want to print out. And to me, that has been a game changer. So I wanted them to know about things, but I wanted to make sure that I didn't overwhelm them. So I chose 3 slides and then again, put it into this legal size paper. So if you want to use this template, you can go to File, make a copy. I think I changed the access. If not, I'm going to do it right now. So then you guys can go to File, make a copy, and then you can use that same concept as well. So my teachers in my district have actually been using Google Drawings because, again, if it's something that you want to create that you really only need 1 slide, consider making that type of an option. So I'm going to show you what Megan Banks, who's a kindergarten teacher in our school district, she started to use Google Drawings for review for students. So for instance, she has the @word family. So off to the side, she's telling them what she wants them to click on. And it indicates on here if it's a book or if it's a game. And so it's basically like having her own little mat. It's like a digital mat that she wants the kids to review skills. So I love this idea. Some of our other kindergarten teachers have turned this into review sight words. The possibilities are endless with this. But always ask yourself, do you really need more than 1 slide? So I always err on the side of if I only need 1, then I could use Google Drawings for that. Okay, so I wanted to give you that option. Now, the next one is going to get a little bit fancy. Okay, and I'm going to have the full directions are in here if you're interested. I figured out a way to take something from Google Drawings, put it into Google Poly, and then you can create your own 360. And adding on top of that, we even used Remove BG. So this one has a lot of instructions, so I'm not going to go into big depth here. I do have a couple of examples on this slide 11. So this one will actually take you out to the Google drawing that I created. This was the very first one that I did. And it is, I wanted to take a concept of what could you do with the book. Now, I have this on the website that this links out to. I'll give a shout out to Chris Young. He's the one that I saw the 360 Google Drawings template. So you have to keep everything within this range. So when I want to add images onto here, I need to keep it into this range. And then if you get more advanced, you can put it into Google Poly and it will actually turn it into a 360 image. So I was reading the Houdini box and I thought, well, we want some images of Houdini. If the students tap on the locks, it'll do some things. Even if I don't want to turn this into a 360 image, it's still pretty cool because I could actually add links to these different images that are on here. So that was the first way that I used it. Then when I was meeting, when I did some model lessons with 4th and 5th graders, we then talked about how you could do this for historical events. So at the time, they were learning about the Gettysburg Address. And so that's why we decided to try some samples with that. Okay. Speaking of creating a infographic, our 2nd grade teachers always had done an animal project. So they had done like some type of an animal report. And I wanted to give the kids options because before they would all do like a file folder of a, everybody would do their research and then everybody would have a file folder. And I said, well, let's try to mix things up. So I had, what if a kid wanted to do it in Google Slides? But another option that I had was Google Drawings. And I told the 2nd graders at that school, I said, whoever chooses it, I will take all of those kids down to the large group instruction room and I will teach them. And it was me and about 42 2nd graders. And it was awesome because the kids, it was like a pin could drop. They were so soaking it up and they wanted to learn how to do this. So I taught them how to make their own poster. And this was a clip from me actually going through with the kids, like adding some word art, adding some text boxes. I taught them about layering and different things. But then the ultimate was I then also taught them how to add a QR code on the top of that interactive poster that they made in Google Drawings. So that day when people were walking around and looking at the different projects, we saw a variety. We didn't see a recipe. So we didn't see the same thing. We actually saw a lot of different choices of things that were going on. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a moment. And Tracy had a question in here. I tried to create assignments using Google Drawings. Is there a way you can attach the drawings together? I like to have front and back of an assignment. So if you're wanting to have, so the whole point of Google Drawings is that it is only one. So on that, Tracy, if you're giving them an assignment that you want them to do something in Google Drawings, again, if it's going to go beyond and you want it to have like a front and a back, I almost would go back to using Google Slides for that purpose. I have had people say, well, if the students create projects in Google Drawings, what's the easiest way for everybody to share their work? And you could do one of two options. You could have a Google form that you're having the kid fill out, put their name, class period, and then there's a place where you can tell them to add a link. And then the student can insert, they can actually just slap in the link to get to their project. And then if all of your students in your class fill out that Google form, at the end, you're going to have all of those responses built into a spreadsheet. So then all you would have to do is share the spreadsheet view with all of the students in your class, and then they can take a look at each other's drawings. So that's one possibility to do that. Also in a Google Doc, you could just tell them to throw a link to it into a Google Doc. I've got just a few more minutes for this session. And again, this was really more of an intro to kind of show you the possibilities of what you can do with Google Drawings. I will have some more of those advanced features that I kind of touched upon. I'll go into more of a slow down step-by-step for those people that are interested in doing the more advanced. Okay. When I go back to sharing my screen here, I'm good friends with Matt Miller. And Matt Miller, of course, the author of Ditch That Textbook, has tons of ways that you guys can use Google Drawings. I have links to 2 of the blog posts that he has on here. This one is awesome because it's basically a blog post that's going to walk you through all the different ways that you could use Google Drawings. I've touched on some of them, but definitely take a look at going through all of this. Because he's got a ton of different options. Like I've been telling you about multimedia posters. He talked about, if you want to create an infographic, a timeline would be great. I loved the blackout poetry idea. I thought that one was really cool. Comic strips, it's an easy way. Again, if you only want it to be one slide. Another post that he has in here as well is graphic organizers. And that, honestly, that was the first way that I started to use Google Drawings. I needed an option. I should have it linked here. I needed an option to be able to make graphic organizers. And to me, this was the easiest way when I saw what Matt Miller had posted. So again, when you're doing a graphic organizer, you may not even need that in a Google slide. You may just need it as a template. So what Matt has done is he's recreated in Google Drawings some of the most popular graphic organizers that you may use. And a lot of times for me to show a teacher this piece and say, holy cow, did you know that these are already even out here? All you have to do is tap and you can use his template. You don't have to start from scratch. But basically, once you get used to Google Drawings, you can go out and make your own. Basically, anything that you see that is a worksheet that's on there, you can use that and turn that into a Google drawing. So that way it's something that is an option as well. Yeah, and Lynn put on here too, which is awesome. I love Tony Vincent as well. I haven't taken his courses because all the stuff that he covers in there is stuff I already know how to do, but he is great where he offers courses on graphic designs that's using drawings and slides. Again, this was just a little bit more of an intro, but we'll get into more advanced items. Honestly, if you do want to do the advanced one, I would try to play around with Google Drawings some before you decide to try with the advanced features. So hopefully this gave you plenty of ideas. Go back and take a look at the presentation. Make sure you take a look at Manuel's video where he is going through step by step. And hopefully you guys got lots of ideas. I'm going to hop off of here because we have another session coming up at 1 o'clock. All right. Thanks so much for joining us live or with the replay.